Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. It's been a minute, Peter. Been a minute.
We've been busy.
Been busy curating content. That's what we're doing here.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like, we're always, listen, you and I, our daily lives curate content. We're both in the thick of things in the dental world. So just more experience, more moons go by and we know more stuff.
Practices have been busy.
Oh, yeah.
Both practices have been. I mean, your side and my side has been it's been crazy, right? And it's
you never want to waste a good crisis, Peter.
The crisis was of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, it just took us off of our normal the normal rails that we're stuck on and had us look from a macro down. Listen, 1 year ago today, you and I had both fired our entire teams. Right. Very difficult day. Mine was on March 26th, a series of Zoom calls, literally calling each department and saying, guys, governor shut us down.
Same day.
Yeah, I know we did. I remember talking before, like, you doing it today? Yeah, I'm going to do it today. Like, we purposefully try to coordinate it in the same day. And I remember those questions like, well, am I being hired back? I don't know what the world's going to look like, people.
Right.
Yeah, I can't speak to what is around this corner. I don't even know. None of us had known. And to go 1 year in the future, today, and see how we were so scared and we didn't know what was going on, to now having better systems, better protocols, better team, better culture, better revenue. I mean, it's just wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. And I think it's one more life lesson, right? When you get so myopic or get so zoomed in on what's going on right there, you just need some time to reflect. And so maybe, there's a silver lining. I know at the time we were going through, we're like, holy shit. And even talking to our
you kept telling me that silver lining conversation constantly. Remember my SBA loan?
Uh-huh.
So I was about to, I don't want to put a pin in the mastermind for 1 second, but I was refinancing my loan for my practice. It was supposed to close like April 5th and we were under a deadline to close. I was so pissed. I called you up, like, the bank's not going to loan me the money. Like, bro, there could be a silver lining. I'm like, no, fuck you and your silver linings, man. There's nothing going to happen. Then of course the SBA says you don't have to owe us the payments for like X number of months.
No, it wasn't deferred payments.
It wasn't deferred.
Just don't pay for a while.
Right.
Which is, because that was built into the your SBA and the Jobs Act and all, or the COVID relief plan rather.
Yeah.
And so, now that was one of your many silver linings, but it's like I've alluded to on the podcast before. I had some crises that happened. I've got big scars that I don't want to talk about, because I've talked about them so much on the podcast. But anytime you're going through this, I guess what I'm saying to other dentists out there, just remember that things are happening for you. And in the time you're going through them, it's pain, it's real pain. And you think, holy shit. And if you can get some distance from them, you say, gosh, this is why that happened. And time again, it occurs. And this most recent instance was no different, Craig.
Yeah,
the COVID incident was no different. At the time we were going through and having to, yes, it was horrible gut punch to have to fire people. But guess what? The team got stronger as a result. Some people didn't come back. And guess what? They probably shouldn't have come back.
Yeah, I remember like a conversation we had when we were considering what to do. You're like, listen, you can analyze this shit to death, Craig. And the point is we have to go forward with the optics we have right now. Mm-hmm. Is this the right move for right now? We didn't understand. And then everybody's chiming in your ear, telling all these experts, remember all the experts we had on? No, don't do this. Don't do that. And they're so secure. Like I had people like in my ear, like, you're making a mistake. I'm like, how do you know what I am making? Well, it
was uncharted waters.
It was uncharted waters, but in the face of uncharted waters, the so-called experts, the pundits, are telling you exactly what to do. They don't have businesses. They don't have 30, 40, 50, 60 employees, some of these people.
And they never had a past example of this is what you should do because new legislation, right? So it was the wild, wild west, and it was scary as shit. And luckily, we were kind of going through and holding hands with each other, not to mention, going through and kind of leading our mastermind through, which was really crazy. That mastermind we designed had all these trips planned and these adventures planned and these things planned, and everything blew up. The world fell apart. Also, all of a sudden, it went to crisis plan.
And funny enough, so everybody filled out their intake survey. What was your profit in 2019, your revenue and profit, and then your 2020 revenue and profit goals. So people filled that out
prior to starting. You're saying prior to COVID.
Prior to COVID happening. So imagine if we would have said, and by the way, I think every single person, even those in California, exceeded their revenue and profit goals. So imagine if we would have said to people like, hey, give me your 2020 revenue and profit goal, but forecasting you being shut down for a minimum of 8 weeks and a global pandemic. First of all, people would have said you're freaking crazy, number one. But number two, they would have adjusted it by at least 20%. So I love those calls that we have with our mastermind and just showing them how, even though they thought 2020 is going to be a banner year, and, you know, our summit was like Vision 2020 and how cool the year was to have 2020 sight, people still wound up hitting. No way. Is that a new book?
That's his book. Remember what I was talking about?
I never saw that. I haven't seen
Yeah,
that
yeah,
yet.
we talked
So
about
anyway,
it.
let me complete my thought, because for those that aren't seeing it. So even though these people had written out their goals in late February, and even the first week of March, they still all hit it. And I really do believe it's the mindset that we cultivated, that we all had. And listen, you can't help somebody in this world without in the process helping yourself. I owe a huge debt of gratitude to the 16 mastermind members that we had, because they helped me immeasurably through it as well. It went from like, how are we going to dominate the world, to like, okay, how do we survive? And people like Dwight Pecora and Tish and all these great minds, you know, all hiring their own independent legal counsel. And then we're all taking these ideas. So it was such a great year to have the inaugural, the OG mastermind, and lead through it. But yeah, Pete just picked up a book with our friend Scott Galloway, Post-Corona. And I think no matter what happens, none of us have a crystal ball, but many agree that Corona is going to be ending soon. But no matter what, there's certain things that we're never going to go back to pre-pandemic in a good way. In a good way.
Give me an example, Craig.
Well, all the fluff that we had, you know, when you're going and auditing your systems, when we had to fire our entire teams, there was so many like little $120 services for this and $225 for that. I'm like, what the hell is that? And why are we paying for it?
Yeah, you really
like,
didn't do anything about it.
Turn that
right,
off. Turn that off immediately. And then having to go through like June, July, and August, we're like, well, should we turn that back on? No, we don't even miss that anymore.
Right.
We don't even miss that.
And I had buddies, I have my own friend mastermind with business owners, car dealers, I think I've told you about, and they did the same process. So again, then their silver lining was going through and auditing, holy shit, turn off the outflow of money, because we don't know when money's coming back in, and audit exactly what's going out. Right. So it's only vital software, only vital services, only vital vendors. And you have to go through, Greg, like you said, it's a cleansing exercise to go through and like, do we need this?
Well, I mean, look at how you get in a business as it grows. You get really sloppy because you're like,
right, because revenue trumps.
Right, but it's only $110 a month, only $300 a quarter.
You sound like my wife.
But you do that 500 times, and you have expenses out of control. Same thing with like what we talk about with our credit cards. Like, you negotiate your credit card fees, they go down to a certain level, you feel really good, you see the month trending, they're really low, you're saving a shit ton of money. And then little by little by little, the credit card companies know to increase them again. You don't realize you have to keep doing the same thing. So, that's when we, figured out about our credit cards, you and me. Like what did we save between you and me?
Well, look,
do you remember that number? I don't want to leave that.
The credit cards?
What were we between you and me, our years of my practice? I know you had thought you did a really good job, and you were only saving like.
Oh, you mean from even credit card processing?
Credit card processing.
Yeah. Through the company, Merchant Cars Consulting. Yeah, they saved us collectively like $2,000 a month for and didn't change processors. We just like hooked up with them. They became our advocate, and we saved like $2,000 a month.
I just had to explain that to somebody looking at my P&L, like a consultant looking at my P&L, like, why did your fees go down so much? I'm like, oh, because of this. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Didn't you? They, I think we still have well, I define that. We need to put it in the show notes, but I think it's like Bulletproof savings or something like that. We directed people there because it was a great service at the time. I hope it's still up. Can you check?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Can you check that live? But what I was holding up for everyone listening at home was, we had Scott Galloway on, who, if you didn't know Scott Galloway before, it was one of my bucket list of it. Once I thought of having a podcast, I was like, man, if I could have Scott Galloway on, it would really be a bucket list thing. Because he is just one of those people who, he prognosticates about things that are going to happen in the future, and everyone listens to him. And so he even wrote a book. Go back and listen to that podcast. If you haven't heard him, go back and listen to it, because I think it's Craig's favorite podcast. He references it all the time.
Well, it's
But
my
he wrote a
favorite
book.
because it's evergreen, and every time you listen to it, you're gonna
Mhm.
pull something else out of it. He talks so fast, there's so much humor that you'll find yourself laughing, and then he'll say two or three things while you're laughing, like, "Oh shit, those are really good." I didn't even know he wrote this book. When did this come
Yeah,
out?
it came out literally. It was about to come out. If you reference back in the podcast, I actually told him I was going to buy it. Maybe you didn't listen that intently, but it came out right around
Oh wow,
COVID.
I gotta wish him congratulations. How's it doing? How's it
I
selling?
don't know. I haven't checked in. I know I went on Amazon and bought it, but the title of the book is Post Corona: From Crisis to Opportunity, which is exactly how you and I started this podcast. And so you kind of said, never waste a good crisis. Um,
Oh, it's kicking ass, by the way.
is it really?
It's 1,066 reviews, and it's 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's really, really well rated.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
so
gonna
it's
get it.
talking about the cleansing process, and even if we look at this back in towards dentistry, how many people did you know that said, "Hey, they're just shuttering their doors, they're not opening, they're answering their phones." So like it actually forced. So if you're looking at it from a competition standpoint, I know we don't like to worry about competition, especially as an industry, because I think there's enough of that going on. I always say if there was a dental firing squad, it would be a circle.
Yeah, it's true.
But really, look, if you look at it from a competition, and maybe the space was getting too crowded with pop-ups here and there, or maybe inadequate care, or people in your community who just didn't have the chops that you had. There were some people who actually shuttered their doors and didn't open them back up. So, maybe that's a meritocracy, maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, who knows? You hate to say that tragedy, but just like in 2008, everyone was a real estate agent. Everybody was a real estate agent. The market was great, right? And then 2008 happens, and all of a sudden it's like, whew, only the strong survive, right? It's a Darwinism kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
Um,
mental. It's mental Darwinism. It's not physical though. The battle that was waged on people was an internal battle of I can't handle this. I'm gonna crack. I can't do it. So I think, Peter, you and I, not to harp back on the mastermind, but we were fortunate as well to not have each other, but this group of people that I'm using finger quotes, in charge of leading. So like you and I would have like, oh shit, conversations like, what the fuck, like, what are we gonna do? And we got to pull it together. And then we'd be there strong for the mastermind. But it was a culture of like, we're going to do this and we're going to beat it. And there was outside dialogue. I remember talking with Scott. I won't use his last name because I don't want to, Scott's a faculty for a very prestigious institution, and he's out in California, and he kept saying like he's part of another group, and the other group is like, well, yeah, we're doing well in, July and September, or July and August and September, but there's a big crash coming in October, because what you're seeing is you're just seeing
pent-up demand.
the pent up demand.
Yeah.
So I was like, Scott, who the hell is telling you that? Like, what is he, freaking dental Nostradamus? Don't listen to that. Like, turn that shit off. And he's like, you're right. You're right. And what had happened? September kicked ass, October kicked ass, November kicked ass, December kicked ass. So if
But the
anything,
reason being is that Scott turned on a whole new set of skills, right? He
right,
took that, oh my gosh, I'm paralyzed with fear, and learned. He learned how to publish some videos, and he learned some things in marketing, and he learned something.
right.
He used that downtime as opportunity.
Yeah,
And that is what I see. That's what I think Scott talks about. Scott Galloway, not Scott R. Scott, talks about, from crisis to opportunity, is that
yeah,
it cleanses the space. And then those who want to thrive, there's actually more opportunity for you to eat, so to speak.
of
Um,
course. But
and
and also the crisis of leadership too. So let's rewind through COVID. We have a
mm,
presidential election. We have two old men on stage screaming at each other. Like, where's
mm,
I thought I was turning into a debate. I didn't think I was like watching two 70-year-olds like screaming at each other. So there's no sense of leadership coming out. So the cultural leadership is like quiet. So we have an opportunity to show up in ways to our team and as leaders. So, even us as dental leaders, if you had some form of leadership skill, it was going to be amplified because people were so desperate to hear it. So it's like during like you're not supposed to advertise during a presidential election on TV because it's so expensive. You'll be
mhm.
drowned out by the noise. The crisis of leadership was so strong before, during, and after, now with COVID, that any form of leadership, any form of check-in, just checking in on your team. Are you good? Do you need anything? Are you all right? You're sick. Do you need something? That goes so far. So I think the teams that were, good organizations got better through COVID, and ones that needed to be taken out or ones that weren't thriving, they fell by the wayside. I really do. I do
So
believe that it kind of.
given what opportunities do you see right now? Let's kind of just let's ping pong back and forth for just a second. Like, so what do you see as silver linings current day? The dentist listing, like, okay, I hear you both talking, you're both
Okay.
ranting. What do you see?
The
And I'm going
first
to give
thing,
one.
okay, the first thing I see is that I think the consumer behavior shifted. So I think pre-corona, you could say, hey, go to this Vietnamese place down in the corner. It's kind of a shit, hole in the wall. It's ugly, but don't worry about all that. The food is amazing. And now when you think about going to a crappy place that's like run down and it doesn't seem clean, it's not it now it's now people cross their mind like, oh, that could kill me. That place could be so physically unsafe that I could get a virus there. Before it was like, oh, it's just ugly, don't worry, the food's real good, don't worry. And so I think that the consumer is now very attuned to how the perceived safety of a place. I don't think that
100%.
crossed the mind of anybody before. Maybe you and us as listeners were dentists, we're finicky people. We're the type of people that open up the restroom door with a piece of towel in our hand. We're just infectious, conscientious, or in fact, we're just conscientious people. We're a little bit anal retentive. But the average consumer, that ship has sailed. Now they're going to look at your dental practice. If it looks like it's not clean to them. Scott Kelleher from Southwest Airlines has a famous quote. I think it's Scott Kelleher. I don't know what his first name is, but he says that if the interior of your plane is not clean, people think the engines are faulty. So they recognize that a clean, nice looking interior plane, people feel safer. Because you're taking off and you're flying, but going to the little crappy Vietnamese restaurant or going to get your teeth clean, I think there was a lot of people going to their homey old dentist that looked like the interior of a Brady Bunch, and now they don't go there anymore because you know what? They're like, even though I like Dr. Jones and Sally, my hygienist, it scares me being in there. It doesn't seem modern and clean. That's
So my thing that I'm going to ping pong back with is kind of piggybacks on you. So I completely agree. And I think that actually created an opportunity to create awareness around your superior process. Showcase, actually do videos or pictures or articles or something on social media that demonstrates, here is our state-of-the-art sterilization. Here are the steps that we've gone through to step in front of the COVID and things that are going to stay, right? The mask and the techniques and the sprayers and all the things, like I said. And I think it's an opportunity to step in front of it where a lot of people are stepping away from it. But the consumer side, like you said, Craig, is desperately seeking it. I seek it as a consumer of one who was just seeking, a doctor's office. Actually, I'm looking for a new, position. And I was kind of desperately looking, where can I listen to him talk first? I want to see some video of him.
Right.
I want to see pictures of what the office looks like, right? Is it a dump? Is it scary? Are there any pictures of the team on there or his staff? Right. And so I think, just like you're saying, you have to check that box of the consumer being scared, because let's be honest, they were already scared of dentistry. Don't give them another reason to get scared of dentistry.
Right, but they weren't scared about, I was always shocked that they'd go to certain places. Like I'd have friends of mine who are not patients of mine, and they go to like some really homey ass places for dental care. I'm like, wow, what about?
Because it was all the same.
Because people actually believe in our government for the most part. They believe that if this is a licensed dentist, of course they autoclave everything.
It's the same, right?
Of course they do. It's all standardized. And now they realize, oh shit.
Of course they sport test.
Of course they do. Of course they change the water out of their autoclaves. By the way, there are people that don't even change the sterile water out of their autoclaves. But
I know.
But the point is now the consumer is like, oh, I have to be my own advocate because the CDC is changing the rules every day. I have to be aware. This place looks clean. It looks modern. It looks like they care. I'm safer there. Huge.
You want to go? You want to ping pong another one opportunity?
Do you have one at the top?
Create the list of things that you've turned back on, right? The software, the recurring things that use now that you've cleaned your house, you did a spring cleaning for potentially your P&L. Go back through and make sure every time you add something, you're putting it to a list. So it's a list of things you just don't forget, and make sure that you are using that, whether it's the SaaS product or the software or the warranty or the vendor thing. Make sure you're watching your P&L. Should that, because it should have taught you a lesson to run a clean business. If you don't like it, need it, or love it, then get rid of it.
Right. I agree with that one. I'm going to go with the next one is, do you really need to drag a patient in for this appointment, or can you just check in on the phone or FaceTime or Zoom? Like I was doing shit tons of aligner checks where people would drive their ass to my office, 20-minute drive. They show up, they walk into my office. And if you've been in my office, from the front door to your operatory is like a 7-minute stroll. And they sit down, I look at their aligner. I'm like, yep, doing good, Kelly. Get out of here. Here's your next 5. So now it's like, okay, your next appointment, Michelle is going to FaceTime you, or we're going to go on our Zoom channel. And
Oh,
we're just going to
really?
check in with
So
you.
you think that'll be something that persists?
I will never do that. I will never do. People don't
Amazing.
want. Yeah. So this idea of like patients don't mind, like they don't have to be there, and it's just so much easier, and they have so much higher satisfaction of doing my Invisalign checks. I did 2 Invisalign consultations on Friday, Zoom calls of children of parents that are patients of mine. I did a Zoom call. I'm like, it looks good, looks easy. Open, turn to the side. Let me say, I'm not going to be here this afternoon, but one of my doctors can do a periodic examination or a limited examination, do a pano, 4 bite wings and 2 PAs, and we'll take a scan. If everything looks fine, you can go ahead. Okay, they committed. And Holly, go ahead and take care of it. I did 2. I closed 2 Invisalign cases from Zoom calls last week.
And Greg, I think that's even the big insurance companies. For instance, we just changed medical insurance. My family did. And the company itself was I think we're on Humana now, and it was saying, hey, make sure to use this Doctor on Demand app. It's free for you all the time, 24 hours a day, right? It's free, specialist, all the things free. And they kept pounding that. And I was like, I don't think they really want to use it. And I was like, well, duh, they've discovered that just like companies have, the work from home is cheaper, right? They want to keep, just like you discover, it's more efficient.
Oh yeah,
all these things you didn't think you had, come in for an Invisalign check once a month. We can probably do that on FaceTime now.
I have
right?
I have a team member that's super freaking happy. Her performance is through the roof. Her last day, she's working, just about full time with us. Her last day she's been working here the entire time, but her last day for her physically being here was like March 18th of last year, or March 20th of last year. She's super happy. She's getting shit done. And by the way, when everybody was fired, it was, first of all, when everybody was fired, a very interesting thing happened for my business. So I'm going to take one more and then I'm going to ping it back to you. So I let everybody go on March 26th. It was a Wednesday, I believe. On Thursday morning, a huddle happened on our Facebook team page. We had no jobs, and we just did a huddle like, hey, it's me. I'm going to go for a walk. I just want to talk about like our thought of the day. And every day during our closure for those 6-7 weeks we were closed, every single day we had a huddle. No one was being paid. Nothing existed. There's nothing. We had no idea when we were coming back. Every single day, people were working. And by the way, people were emailing me that weren't hired to say, hey, check out our, the Yelp page is down, or this thing happened, or someone just commented on the Facebook that they have an emergency. Did you get that message? So all I had was 2 employees. I had Kathy and Erica, and no one else had a paycheck, and everybody still worked. And I think it's just what you did during COVID. If you were a good leader and you had invested in your team and you stood out in front of people and you did whatever you could to help them, that will be remembered for your entire time those people work with you. And if you went internal and you looked after, listen, we're all self-preservationists. I'm not saying I was this altruistic guy, but I'm super proud of the way I handled COVID. I paid for everybody's health insurance. I said, you're all going to go. I can't, you're not going to be here anymore. But for the next 2 months, the last thing I wanted you to do is lose your job and lose your health insurance.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pay for, I know we both talked about it. Yeah. And by the way, Peter, you and I were both being advised, and I want to credit you for this. We were being advised by lawyers to say, okay, if you're going to give them health insurance and they're no longer working, you're giving them something, that's actually severance pay. So please sign these documents to say, here's your gift and don't sue me. And you said it to me. I'm like, this is what the lawyers are saying. You're like, man, F that. Like, you're going to like, here's a nice thing to do. Don't sue me. He's like, screw that. And you were so hard on me about it because I was like, this is what the lawyer says. You're like, man, lawyers suck. Leave it alone. And it's true. And no offense to all the lawyers out there that are listening to this, but you know what? I just wanted to do the right thing. And I felt so good about it. And not to say that if you did that, it was a bad thing for you. But for me, it just felt right to just wear the white hat.
It was one of those things, Greg. There were so many compromises, and you had to acquiesce with your. At what point do you draw the line? You say, I'm still a human, I'm still leading, and I'm not making someone sign a like accord and satisfaction with them getting fired the same day if they want their, medical insurance. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And
And
because if you don't want to
it
sign
felt like
it,
salt in the wound.
it did. It
And I
did.
was not going to do it to my peeps.
And
All
thank you
right.
for being hard with me on that one
Yeah,
too.
man.
So
That's
that
my
was
job. I'm hard, right?
yeah,
I'm firm
appreciate
but
it.
fair, as they say.
You know it was fair, but I appreciate being firm with me on that one. Go
I'm
ahead.
not a
What's yours next?
listener.
I'm just joking. I
Oh,
just want to tap
fine.
in because I could feel the
All right.
insecurity welling
My
up.
thing would be that I think it's going to be an opportunity for more same day dentistry, and put that in a patient benefited verbiage. Mrs. Jones, you're already here for your cleaning. You've already gone through the process of got you out of the car. We took your temperature. We did the rinse. We did this, right? You have you're in a safe environment. Hey, we just happen to we diagnosed you with this comprehensive dentistry, and we just happen to have some availability today. And you've already kind of been, matriculated in for the day, if you will, right?
Yeah.
You want to take care of that today. I think people will be even more so open to the idea, not just from time conscientious standpoint, but just from yeah, you know what? It makes sense. I'm here. Let's do it. I also think that dentistry, you'll have the ability to pivot into bigger procedures, presenting more at one time and say, you know what, I'd like to dedicate the whole day to you. And you don't have to go into why, but I'd like to do all this treatment on you in one day. And people kind of get it now. I think just vicariously through their operations, and maybe people being at home, people needing their needs a little more isolation. I don't want to crisscross rooms and put my roller skates on and flip gloves back and forth. I want to kind of dedicate the day just to you. And and I want to do these 20 crowns on you or whatever it is. And I think it helps. It will help with enrollment. I think it will help with communication. I think it will help with comprehensive diagnosis.
Yep.
And putting, if you're scared of doing that, there's one more thing of saying,
Oh, that's
here's
I want to jump in.
why.
I want to jump in on that. So all
Of
the
course you
dentists
do.
that I'm sorry. Well, no, you're saying something, but you're leaving just one part
Oh,
open.
okay.
So I
Right.
want to just add on to what you're saying. So a lot of my docs that I work with, when they had, some people were just, we have all different levels. We have people that are expert and people that are becoming expert. So, when we take some of the doctors that were like more on their path, on the beginning portion of their career, and they have treatment acceptance rates of, let's say, 25 or 30%. I'd always say to them, hey, Dr. Jones, what percentage of the treatment that you recommend is cosmetic or elective? Well, why do you ask? I'm like, I'm just curious. Is it mostly restorative or cosmetic? Well, no, most of what I do is, restorative. I'm like, so is it fair to say that if people say no to you, it's going to get worse for them? The MO is going to turn into a crown. The crown's going to turn into an implant. Implant's going to turn into a bridge, all that stuff. He's like 100%. So I'm like, look, 70% of the people that you see are getting worse right now. So you've presented, blank numbers of hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's now maybe millions of dollars now because it's all gotten worse. So we're failing our patients if we don't enroll them properly. We have to if we don't, just like there's millions of dollars spent on seatbelt campaigns, if people don't click it, they're going to wind up in a lot worse trouble. So the coronavirus crisis, or the coronavirus pandemic rather, showed us that if they don't take care of their stuff, it's going to get worse, and we never know when we're going to be shut down. So there's probably a lot of people out there that, blew off their dental records. Like, I can get it done whenever. What do you do when it's April 7th and everybody's closed, and your front tooth that you were told has a cavity chips off and starts, breaking apart? So I think that.
Is it my turn?
Yes, it's your turn.
All right. So what I'm referencing now is I thought of something when you're just talking. I think there's never been a time that people are going to be more receptive to this part on our bulletproof pathway, Greg. You see me circling that?
Yeah, recapture.
People are desperate for the human touch right now, desperate to be remembered. I think they say like they've gone, and in our processes, right, it's been chaos. And so I think if I think now is the time to say, hey, Ms. Jones, hope you fared well through this. We're finally getting caught back up, but just want to make sure you're being taken care of. I see that, you haven't been with us for 2 years or whatever, but now is a great time to have a system to your recapturing. And I think people are more receptive than any time in history, just to have some kind of human connection contact, because there's a lot of lonely folks out there. A lot of people in bad mental states, dentists, us included. We go through periods of that. COVID was tough, not just financially for a lot of people, but it was tough from a psychological and psychological and mental health state, honestly.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
I think people are so eager to have connection, human connection, and just make sure they're going to be open to the recapture. So don't forget the people who have kind of fallen through the cracks, even though you feel like you're in a chaotic mode. Make sure you have a system of follow-ups as I'm looking at that. And I'll stop here now.
No, I love it. I love it.
Anything else? Any other tips, tricks, or whatever? I like
Uh,
this. This ping pong was actually, you've given me, I wrote some things down for me to take action from.
yeah, I
Um,
think the biggest ones for me are when it's like when the everything's moving in one direction, you're inordinately rewarded for doing the opposite. So, I think the biggest thing, and I'm just going to reiterate, is that everybody it was a crisis. It was self-preservation, and those who chose to invest in others during the
mhm.
crisis. It's like that book by Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. It's you decided to put other people ahead, you're going to be rewarded. And I think that's like one of the, kind of a secret of life. If you want more love, you give more love. If you want more appreciation, you give more appreciation. When everybody's going dark and scared, those who leaned in, and by the way, if you didn't lean in, it's okay. You can lean in now. There's still a
Right.
crisis going on. It's not like you missed this time. So if you're a doctor listening, you're like, yeah, man, all right, yeah, I kind of feel like, I didn't lean into my team. Lean in today. Just stop in and just go to those team members. A lot of us got PPP and PRF money, provider relief funds, and we had a lot of things afforded to us to take care of us. But the average person, the average employee, the essential worker, Scott Galloway calls them, they didn't do so well. They got kids at home. They got more bills. They got less relief. They need it more than they need it right now. So lean into your team, let them know how much you appreciate them. Ask if what you can do to help them. That stuff will not only help your team and help them feel appreciated, it'll actually just help you. So if you go and be the leader that you can be, and lean into your team and ask them what they need to support, that pays the biggest dividend of all. And that's
I
it.
love it, buddy. I think that's good. I think that's a good wrap for today. I was actually
I
going to
got I
start.
got one plug though. I got one
Okay.
plug.
Oh, okay.
So VIP tickets, Peter, sold out, bro. Sold out. I think, right? Or is there one
Yeah, I
left? I
don't
don't
know if
even
it's.
know.
I think it's a couple left, but I will eat crow on that one because I was like, Craig, that was your idea, and I was like, that's so
Yeah.
stupid. That's so
Yeah, I
Craig,
know.
you're so stupid.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's so
I don't mind.
stupid, Craig.
I
That
know
is a
I'm not.
dumb
It's all
idea.
good.
So maybe people don't know what you were talking. Give it a little context. Just I think it's a
So
funny
yes,
story.
so basically, at the summit itself, Peter and I are always trying to like just move around as much as possible, and we're trying to add value to different people, and we'll divide and conquer. I'm like, oh, this person wants to talk to me, but I'm like, you really should be talking to Peter. So there's a lot of downtime, like breakfast, lunch, stuff like that.
Hmm.
There's people that are trying to jockey for position. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just create like a VIP experience. So where it's the same lunch, but like you get to eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with us, and you have special seating and all that. I'm like, why not? Let's that way you don't feel bad about who you sit with and who you do that with. So
Yeah.
we could add value to people that want it. Sometimes maybe we sit with people that didn't want us to be there, like,
This seat was taken.
yeah, like I've sat down. There was like at a summit before, and there's like a group of people that just want to hang out.
Ready
Like,
back?
yeah, so it's just a way to do it. So I'm happy because right now, with a little over 3 months left before the summit, we've sold more tickets than ever before, and I'm just excited about it.
Well, and your VIP ideas, I think there's a couple left, but it's just funny. I had to eat.
You poo-pooed it.
I did poo-poo it just because I was like, that's so dumb.
But no, what's great
But
about when you eat crow, Peter, there's so much chatter on the putting me down that the eat crow is like really kind of a small acquiesce, and I'll never
it is an
remember.
acquiesce.
It's all good, man.
The
I know you love me, and I love you. It's all good.
the cool thing was too is that the summit. Yes, we've sold more tickets already, and it's going to be hands down. It's going to be. I'm just forecasting. It's going to be the best and brightest, and the most content. We're redoing a lot of stuff. It's not, if you, like I said the other day when I did the Bulletproof
Peter
pathway.
Maluk is speaking. Holy hell!
If you've been to one or all three or whatever before, it's going to be different content. Obviously some things, but we're following a pathway, we're following a curriculum, and we're going to be deep diving into certain areas, and then deep diving even further when we onboard the class of 2022 mastermind, which will be exciting. But it's going to be a deep dive, and we're going to have some more stories on that. But anyway, it's going to be cool because, Greg, we pretty much had to like buy the resort essentially, every seat in the house to have it because of COVID. Now that COVID's, thank God, is leaving, we're pretty much just going to have we're going to just dominate this resort,
That's awesome.
So
horseback riding, zip lining, and bringing the family.
This is going to be awesome. It's just literally, we're just going to, every room is going to be dominated by Bulletproof pretty much. So I feel sorry for you if you're coming there as vacation with your family and you're not a dentist.
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll want to be a dentist when you're gone,
Maybe by then, right? Just by
Also,
osmosis.
one thing as well, go to bulletproof.dental, ask your questions there. A lot of
Oh
people are
yeah, the
asking Peter,
network.
get on the network. It's actually really cool. A lot of people are asking us one-off questions like, hey, what do you do for this and that? So if we're going to answer your question, take time to do that. It's probably such that many other people have the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
So jump on the network, ask a question. You could put at Peter, at Craig, there's some good dialogue going on there.
And
And
it's not just you. The beautiful thing is it's not me and you saying do this, do that, or
yeah,
advice. Lots of times, that's what it was designed for, right? A community to help a community. That's
yep,
it. Full stop. And it is other people who have equal chops to say, hey, I would look into this. So it's amazing. That's been fun to do. So if
it
you
has
haven't
been.
joined, you're missing out. You're missing out.
It's all good. There's still
All right,
time.
and the next
Get
thing
on.
we should talk about, Craig, I know we both have to go, but the next thing we should talk about is the opportunity of from a macroeconomic standpoint. I know I've been harping about that in the network, but like opportunities that you could use from all this money printing, from all this,
Oh, yes.
all the things that are going on. The government is turned the printing press on and they can't find the off button. So how do you take advantage of that situation, right? From a leverage standpoint, from an expansion standpoint, possibly from all the things. How do we do that? Because I'm pretty obsessed with that process because yeah. So maybe that's the next one.
Yeah, I mean, from a macroeconomic standpoint, we're not going to go back to the way things were. That
No.
that chart you put on the Mighty Networks was
It's
just
crazy.
absolutely bananas.
Mhm.
So it's not good, but it's also going to fuel our dental practices. So a lot of us are feeling like we're untouchable.
It's not good, but
Um,
it's without our control. So meaning all we
yeah,
have the power to do is our path, right? We
yeah,
can't tell the government what to do. So we have to bob and weave in order to protect us and our future. And so there are ways to do it.
100%.
Someone will thrive. I choose us.
Yeah. Awesome, buddy. Well, thanks
All
for
right,
the
man.
time today. I hope
Yeah,
you
man.
all enjoyed it. Go on bulletproof.dental, join the network, ask your questions, ping that great environment we're building. I'm really proud of that thing. I'm really proud of the network that we're building. And of course, we'll see you at the summit. Don't wait. I promise you it'll
Seriously.
sell out. Don't wait.
All right. Over and out,
Take care,
everyone.
everybody.
See ya.